Come see her. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and of course, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com, and we're dog sitting for Hershey again. Hirsch Hershelton. Gonna hang out with me and do the show today. Hirsch Hershelton. All right, y'all. Well, if you were here yesterday for Morning Scone, you now know what I was texting about. Yesterday morning during Morning Scone, that I got a text. And if you're new or don't know, so I have two devices that I have set up. My Microsoft Surface here is where I originate my stream for Facebook, and then my cell phone I use to originate the stream on YouTube. And so I saw the text message drop down on my phone, which was basically alerting me that Paul Mainieri was going to retire today, or yesterday at 4:30, 4:30 press conference. So that was the back and forth I was having, as many of you I'm sure could gather now. Paul Mainieri did in fact announce his retirement yesterday. Had a long press conference where both he and Skip Bertman spoke. Would love your reaction. Let me know your thoughts. Y'all hit me up with your comments and let me know what you think, what you thought of it. Suffice to say that if you heard AFR, you probably, or if you saw I posted my open to AFR on Facebook and on Instagram. Suffice to say, all year when you all have asked me about Paul Mainieri and his future, and I kept telling you I wouldn't be surprised if he retired. I was basically telling you he's retiring. I mentioned on AFR yesterday, and I don't mind saying it, that I've had firsthand conversations with people who told me in their conversations with Paul they encouraged him to announce before the season. I really would have liked to have seen him done that, honestly. And maybe it's that he just wasn't 100% certain. But, think about all the emotion people had yesterday and have today. Watching Paul Mainieri that press conference, watching him become emotional, acknowledging, as candid as he is, acknowledging that he feels like he hasn't been able to be as good of a coach because of what he's been dealing with. I mean, people are human. Everybody wants to win. We understand that. But at the same time, when people can step back and put into context what Paul Mainieri's done, it's amazing. And, I think this would have been telling people all year is, man, this had the chance to be a win one for the Gipper type season. One more great run. Let him take the victory lap. There would be less disappointment with each loss, understanding that a change was coming, and it would be more elation with each win because of the possibility of what could happen, right? So, and who knows, maybe that might have even sort of motivated the players a little more throughout the year. But he didn't want to go that route. So, Paul, the timing, a lot of people said, what is this basically an indication that LSU's not making regionals? I would say the opposite. I think it's two things. One, it is a tug on the emotional heartstrings of the committee to make sure LSU gets in. And quite possibly sends them to South Bend so they could play where Mainieri once coached. That's one. Two is something Paul did allude to in his press conference, which is that now that he's announced, LSU can formally go out and start talking to candidates and pursuing other coaches. While the season's going on, and until you're looking for a coach, you would have to get permission to speak to a coach for one of your administrators to speak to another school's coach. Well, if you have runners and spies and lackeys. That's not a very good word to use, but you know what I mean. Ain't nothing stopping other people from making calls for you, right? Scott Woodward may not be able to get on the phone, but what about this person? Could they go potentially make some calls? So I think the way I said it on air yesterday is they've been tilling the soil for a while, and they have for months. For months. They're not beginning a coaching search today. They're already down the home stretch. Just can they finish the race? All right, let's say some good mornings here. Whatever y'all want to ask, fire away. Whatever I feel like I can't answer, I will. Jonathan Lambert, Tony Williams, John Sanders, good morning. Michael Merritt, Autumn Lass, good morning. Tim Edwards, what's up, Tilly? Good morning. Richard Tilly, a partner there with Hudco Roofing. Let's be real. Without Tilly, we really don't have Hudco Roofing. He's like the guy who knows everything about construction roofing, and Otherwise, it would just be me and Terrio talking on the radio. Lance Richard, morning, Matt. Tough loss in softball. I know. I'm with you on the home field advantage. I hate that it flip-flops too, but I did watch the softball game last night. Super bummer. They had Florida State down to their final out in the 8th inning with a 1-run lead up 3-2, and they surrendered the Capone and gave up the homer, which is such a bummer. And Florida State won in the 9th, so really disappointed to see it end. I'm going to stick to it. Beth's going to get it done eventually, man. You just keep getting more wax at that piñata. It's going to burst. It's going to happen. Dan Ducote, good morning from Hoover. Go Tigers. Who's the next coach, Matt? So, Dan, I don't know who the next coach is going to be. Vegas are putting out odds. Kevin O'Sullivan would certainly be at the top of the list. To tell you how far that's gone, I have heard agreed upon terms and potential staff members already for Kevin O'Sullivan. There's a lot going on there, though. Some family considerations, some other stuff that that I think the LSU administration is just going to have to decide, is that the person they want leading the program? And if not, I think Cliff Godwin is a very obvious fallback that would have interest. Cliff's won at both Central Florida and East Carolina. He would take the LSU job. A lot of people throw out Mike Bianco. I've literally heard nobody in a position of authority at LSU mention Mike Bianco to me. I've heard fans mention it. I've heard a lot of people, hey, what about Mike? Literally, and I don't know if it's that after 21 years at Ole Miss, he wouldn't leave, or LSU wouldn't have interest, or the combination they're in. That just, that's one that doesn't seem like that would happen. I can tell you, I don't mind saying this now, that they did gauge interest on Tim Tadlock, who's the head coach at Texas Tech, who's been to Omaha. He is a Texas Tech alum, and my understanding is he wants to stay in the state of Texas. So Texas Tech signed him to like a 10-year extension or something like that. So he's not coming. You might hear Jim Schlossnagel's name, but if anyone does float that, it's a red herring. The conversations I've had with people close to Jim Schlossnagel are that he's not even been contacted by anybody at LSU. It's not to say that couldn't happen at some point if they feel like they keep swinging and missing, but it feels like that would be really far down the road. The other name people mention a lot is Tony Vitello at Tennessee, who I think could be a star in the profession. I'm not sure, given the team he's going to have back at Tennessee next year. Like I was talking to one scout yesterday who said Vitello's team next year could win a national championship. I don't know why he would leave that team. I'm like, you sacrifice potential, 10, 15 years at LSU for next year at Tennessee. I don't know. Breezy bro, what up, what up? Can Hershey sing me happy birthday? It's your birthday, Breezy. Happy birthday, man. I don't think Hershey can sing happy birthday, though. But Drew might wake up before we're done. Let me jump over to YouTube, say some good mornings here as well. Appreciate everybody who's watching. If y'all are patient with me today, I'll stay on as long as y'all want, as long as y'all got questions. Just be patient. I'll get to all of you. Trivia, what's up, man? Joey Vincent, good morning. Bubba Tatum, brutal loss for softball. That was, man. Very disappointing. Cliff Nelson, trivia, why would Paul Mainieri retire before regionals? Just kind of alluded to that a little bit. The two reasons are, one, hopefully to give the committee a nudge to get him in, and number two, it allows the LSU administration to be able to go start pursuing a coach above board. Y'all make no mistake, the ideal scenario is LSU plays for as long as the coach they want to hire his team continues playing. Because what you don't want to do is, let's say LSU makes it to a regional and they're out in 2 games, just hypothetically, okay? Let's say they make it to a regional, they're out in 2 games, and then the coach you want to hire makes it to Omaha. Well, now you're waiting 2 weeks potentially, and other team seasons are over, and other coaches are getting jobs and moving on. This cycle is going, and then there's recruiting, and like you want to be able to have your season end, and then like 2 days later introduce your new coach. So that's in part why the timing as well. Juan, good morning. I'm in Hoover. Everyone here was talking about Paul yesterday. I'm sure that'll be the chatter at the Met again today. I'm sure. Cliff, best and worst teas ever. Again, I'm sorry about that yesterday. When that text came through while I was doing morning scone, I mean, many of you probably have assumed what it was about, but I think you also understand now why I wasn't going to say anything for the same reason I didn't say anything all year, because Paul Mainieri, first of all, his players deserved to hear that from him and not from Twitter or message boards or Morning Scone or anything like that. So that was the primary reason why I think everybody who had the news yesterday morning was waiting until Paul could tell his team. And once they had that meeting, then everyone was comfortable pulling it out. That's when LSU put out the release. They had the graphic ready and all that stuff. Deborah Cowart, sad day in LSU baseball. Love Coach Paul. He leaves big shoes to fill. He has always been a class act. Hope he gains relief, enjoys his retirement forever. LSU baseball. Well said, Deborah. Cliff, criticize one play, one game if you want, but anyone who wants to crap on Paul Mainieri after all he has done is an idiot and probably still buys Doge. Well done. Yeah, thank you, Cliff. Hit the like button, please. Everyone watching on YouTube, if you'd hit the like button, I'd appreciate that. Tim Gotro, what's up? Eddie Cooper, good morning from Chicago. Heading to the Cubs game. There you go. Enjoy, man. Get you a Wrigley dog. I remember going to Wrigley a bunch whenever I was in school in South Bend. You would take the train from South Bend over to Chicago, catch games over at Wrigley that year. And they have like a Wrigley dog. It's a hamburger. It's a hot dog with like just gobs of everything on it. Mustard and mayo and ketchup and lettuce and pickles and relish and everything. Everything. Stephen Cooper. Kevin O'Sullivan would not be a good fit for LSU. I don't know why you say that, Stephen. I'll tell you this. Here's why O'Sullivan would make sense. It would be a splash hire. Guy who's already won a national championship. Kevin O'Sullivan is a relentless recruiter. One of the issues Paul has had in recent years, and a lot of this you now know stems from the pain he's been in with his neck. Paul hasn't really recruited. Nolan Cain's the recruiter. In a lot of instances, Paul doesn't really ever see the players until they show up on campus. I know that sounds odd, but that's also what happens when you have a skeleton staff, right? And that's what the NCAA has basically had happen, with the 2 full staff members. So Nolan has recruited. Kevin O'Sullivan is at every showcase. Kevin O'Sullivan is at tournaments, and he's at showcase events and high school games. Like, he's the one doing it. And at 52, 53, he's still super energetic in doing it. Kevin O'Sullivan also handles the pitchers. That's another sort of thing that Paul didn't have. A lot of head coaches, because you have smaller staffs, have to have a specialty. You have to work with the hitters. You have to be the pitching guy. You have to be the recruiting or whatever. Paul doesn't. That's why I had to hire Alan Dunn. Paul doesn't work with the pitchers. That's why I had to have a hitting coach, because Paul isn't the hitting coach. And then Nolan is the recruiting coordinator. And it's, if you hire a guy like O'Sullivan, you don't have to hire a pitching coach because O'Sullivan is your pitching coach. Does that make sense? You know, and then a lot of times, you know, whenever a coach is out, you just hire the opposite of that coach. And, you know, Kevin O'Sullivan is a very energetic, loud, fiery type coach, man. Stories I've heard from players and former players about motivation tactics and pregame speeches and language. I mean, he's different personality wise from Paul, you know, but both won, you know, both have won. Some of y'all probably just started watching, just saw Hershey pop up. This is Hershey. We're dog sitting for the weekend. Hershelton. A sweet little Hershey, huh? Sweet Hershey. David Bass. I wouldn't be surprised if the Ole Miss coach didn't get the job. Go Tiger. Yeah, I talked about it a little bit. I don't think Bianco is. I'll put it to you this way. I think there are some former players, meaning like Skip era guys, who played with Bianco or played for Bianco, that might push for that. I don't think it's realistic. Save ASCII Rock. But can you answer now, where did the term red herring come from? Red herring is like it's like in fishing, like to get birds or something like that to go away, because they see the one red herring that distracts from the totality of like the pile. So they would throw a red herring in there, so like the birds would only see the red herring and they would ignore everything else going on. So that's what a red herring is. It's something designed, it's something designed to get you to pay attention to distract from the totality of what's happening. Cliff, your integrity in journalism is to be commended, and not wanting to be breaking news first guy with all the info that comes your way. Well done. Yeah, Cliff, you know what the other thing, well, thank you for saying that, but I'll tell you this, Cliff. The other thing, too, is, I mean, I have definitely learned over the years that it doesn't do you any good to break news. Like, literally, nobody remembers who broke news. You know what I mean? Like, nobody remembers where they first heard a story. What matters is, over the course of your career, being deemed reputable by your audience. So when you say something, they believe it. That's what matters more than being the first to put on Twitter that coach is retiring or something like that. You know, it just, but again, I mean, that's also why people tell me stuff, because they know that I'm trustworthy and I'll handle the information delicately. So, but thank you for saying that. Brian Ashcraft, Sully makes $1.3 million at Florida. Had his way at Florida. Why would he come? Why would he leave to come here? Okay, so good question. So primarily, and this is, again, you all can, at this point, I think you understand that I know a lot about what I'm saying here. So you can take this for what it's worth. But LSU has more people at a Tuesday night game against McNeese than Florida had its national championship celebration. If you're a college baseball coach, you want people to care about your college baseball program. The way it's been described to me is like this. Kevin O'Sullivan knows he can go recruit really good players to Florida. But the players that he's getting to Florida are players that are using Florida as a pass-through to get to Major League Baseball, which isn't all bad. You can win a lot of games. You just won a national championship. But players don't go to Florida because they want to win a national title at Florida. Players come to LSU because they want to win at LSU. Landon Marceau passed on $2 million because he wanted to play for LSU. Daniel Cabrera passed on a 7-figure signing bonus because he wanted to play at LSU. That doesn't happen in Florida. And I'm not going to curse on Morning Scone, but I was sent a direct quote from Kevin O'Sullivan. I'll paraphrase it. I'd love to be at a place where the fans brought some effing juice. I mean, there's something to it, y'all. Like, that's the allure of LSU. And by the way, the 1.3 LSU has offered more than that. Tony Vitello makes $500K. 42 years old. Go get him. So first of all, I think Tennessee is going to pony up and pay Tony Vitello. That would be an interesting one. Here's why I'm hesitating. Who is that? Brian. So there's a lot of people that I've spoken to, again, not people at LSU, scouts, other coaches, players, whatever, that think Tony Vitello is young, energetic, he's a star, he's this, he's that, whatever. I've had nobody at LSU say that name to me. Literally nobody. Nobody affiliated with LSU and the search. Now, I think you have to at least kick the tires there to at least make that call to see. But it's just weird. Like, I've heard his name a bunch, but not from people that would be decision makers, if that makes sense. Juan, there's 5 Florida fans here at Hoover. They're notorious for being the least traveling people here ever. Kind of part of it. Stephen Cooper, you made some solid points on Sully. I appreciate that. I trust Woodward to make the right call and get his guy. Blaine Bobuff, what's your favorite bottle you have up there on the shelf? Well, Blaine, I could flex a little and show you that you're missing an entire shelf as well. Because that's actually you're missing the entire top shelf up there. The Van Winkles always hold up. You can't see my top shelf, but the Van Winkles, I got a Rib 10 and a Lot B. And then I would tell you the Four Roses Limited 2017 and 2020 are incredible. Let me jump back here to Facebook. As always, y'all, shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, the After Hours Clinic open today. And, of course, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Tim Edwards, Florida State was fundamentally sound. Reagan Lee, I'm only 21 years old. Matt, so Paul is the only coach I've ever known. After seeing that press conference, I'm glad I got to watch him for years. What a legend, what a class act, man of character. God bless him, he cared so much. Well said, Reagan. It's true. It's very true. Sometimes we get so hyper focused on the present, and that, look, y'all have heard me say this, and I hate repeating myself over and over and over and over again. But like, I'm consistent. I'm never gonna lie to you. Like, this season has not been up to anybody's standard. Of course, nobody wants to see this team struggling to get into the tournament. That's not the goal. But you can't lose sight of everything over 15 years, from that incredible run in 2008, the 23 consecutive wins to get to Omaha, winning the Natty in 09, losing so many guys from that 09 team, still, winning the SEC tournament in 2010, getting into, regional play. 2011 was obviously a disappointment, but then you bring in Gosman and you get guys like Bregman and Nola following up. And man, you can't help but wonder what if, against North Carolina with Nola on the mound, unfortunate error, Bregman at short in 2013 when he was won Brooks Wallace Award. I mean, what happens if you knock off North Carolina and you're playing through the winners bracket there? Probably different. I mean, the 2015 team was, 13 and 15 were probably Paul's best teams, honestly. And, you know, you go up there in 15 and you have that unfortunate first inning where Poche makes a throwing error to first base. It's like, God, dog it. You know, you lose to TCU. And, I mean, it was just, it's disappointing. You know, you took great teams and the margin's so thin. You know, you were right there in 2017. And if Eric Walker doesn't get injured, you probably win the national championship that year because you don't start Russell Reynolds game one. You know, you never even got to Lang in the championship series in 17. Anyway, I'm rambling, but anyway, point is it's hard to win, and he won a lot. Autumn last, my heart broke for Coach. I figured he was retiring, but it was sad to see it come to an end. Kirk Taylor, what's good? Michael Merritt, Paul deserved a farewell tour if he had announced before the season. Very clear how much he loves the game in LSU. You know, sometimes it's hard for people to ultimately get to that realization and step over the line, you know, because it's like Moonlight Graham, right? You step over the rocks and you're done. You can't go back. Chuck Sanchez. What's up, Chuck? Get it? Up, Chuck? Jerry Derrigo, good morning. Richard Bruce, would have been nice to send him off in a proper way one last time from the box had the retirement been announced. So, Richard, that was kind of, yeah. George Reitmeyer, what's up? Kelly Gross, good morning. Ryan Dixon. Beth Torina needs to get to the CWS soon. It's been a while. This team was not mentally tough yesterday. She needs to turn it around. Come on, bro. James Brew, good morning. Darren Bone, good morning. Kirk, possible breaking news again on Saturday. Kirk, if there's breaking news today, I haven't heard it yet. Okay, I'll give you that much. If there is breaking news today, I don't know it. Hey, Dad, good morning. William Wade Wilson, good morning. Let's see, George, what are the names, if any, being mentioned for baseball? Kind of went through that a little bit. Jonathan Lambert, feel like I'm asking an obvious question, but assuming with Paul's retirement comes a house cleaning the baseball staff, absolutely. Whoever comes in will absolutely bring their own staff. I will say that whoever comes in should also have someone with some ties to LSU baseball, and not just as an obligatory placeholder. I think you have to have someone on staff who understands a lot of the connectivity within the program and the boosters and all that sort of stuff. And it doesn't have to be an on-field role. You know, it can be in a role kind of like an administrative role, like Micah Gibbs was in that before he became the hitting coach. Same with Sean Ochinko. You know, I think you can you can find that person. Jesse Brown, morning, Matt. Hope you and the family are well. With the Saints needing more cornerbacks, do you think they sign a veteran soon? And how many games will Lattimore miss? My guess on Lattimore is 2. So remember, Lattimore's arrest, they can, there's the NFL conduct, personal conduct policy. The word seems to be 2 games. God, I would love it for just to be 1. But, and I think they sign a corner post June 1. That's when things become more cost effective, when your compensatory picks get locked in for free agents you lost in the previous year. So post June 1, and if it's a veteran, I mean, you may wait all the way up until training camp because someone just don't want to go through all the practices and everything. Tony Williams, the TCU coach, would take it. That's Schlossnagle. That's who I talked about earlier. And I can tell you that no one at LSU has contacted Jim Schlossnagle yet. If you hear his name, that's a red herring. William Doty, what about Canizero? Zero chance, considering what LSU's dealing with right now with Title IX, the lawsuits and everything. There is 0 chance they go back to Andy. Father John David Mathern, and you know I don't like to speak in absolutes. I'm telling you, absolutely, that's not happening. Father John David Mathern, morning, Scone. So there's the news. Worst tease in Scone history now fulfilled. Yes. For those who are just joining us, yesterday on Morning Scone, I was starting the show and I got the text during Morning Scone that the retirement was coming. And in that moment, had to get more info. I couldn't. What I should have done maybe was just stop Morning Scone, but whatever. You all were going to find out soon enough anyway. William Doty, what about Tim Corbin? 0% chance. Interestingly enough, Tim Corbin back in 2007 applied for the LSU job when they gave it to Mainieri. But at this point, I mean, Corbin's won a couple of national titles at Vandy. He has the greatest recruiting advantage in baseball at Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt, if for those that don't know, Vanderbilt, you have your 11.7 scholarships, which Corbin can obviously divvy up, and he can go to kids and say, look, I'll give you 25%, whatever. But at Vanderbilt, if your family makes below a certain amount of income level, 150,000, whatever it is, Vanderbilt's endowment will pay for a full ride scholarship, academic scholarship. So that's why Vandy has the most absurd recruiting advantage anywhere, because they can give guys full ride scholarships on top of the 11.7. The university can. It's similar to TOPS, but again, that's just for Louisiana kids. And the other part of Vanderbilt's scholarship rule within the university is it also it's not just income level, but also it's to encourage minority enrollment as well. So that's why you do see a lot of, you generally see minorities playing on Vanderbilt's baseball team as well. That's what, I mean, look at Enrique Bradfield, just won SEC Freshman of the Year. He ain't paying money to go to Vanderbilt. That's the advantage Tim Corbin has. He can go to a kid like Enrique Bradfield and say, we'll give you a 100% full ride at Vanderbilt. At this school and this program that's produced this, you know what I mean? So Corbin, he ain't leaving. Corbin ain't leaving. Oh, what did you hear? I bet that surprised a lot of people who just jumped on and saw Hershey pop up. This is Hershey, everybody who don't know. We're dog sitting. This is Erica's sister, my sister-in-law, her family, their dog. They're at the beach, so we're watching Hershey. They're gonna come out here soon. Ooh, when Drew sees Hershey, he is going to cackle. He loves him some Hershey. Huh. Hershelton. Darren Bone, respect the heck out of you for respecting Paul Mainieri's players and the program for not just spitting out sensitive information before it should be. Too many podcasters want to try and be the first. They just have to respect the situation. Thank you for having class and morals. Well, thank you for saying that, Darren. I don't know that I would necessarily say class and morals, but I do. But thank you. I would say it's just journalistic integrity. It's understanding. But look, in fairness, and I do not mean for this to be demeaning to anybody. A lot of people aren't used to handling breaking news and getting information. Like, seriously, I mean, that literally happens every day in my job. Like, literally every day that happens in my job. When you do this for as long now as I have, and people even longer than me, I mean, you cultivate sources and information, and people call you with stuff every single day. So it's often why you hear me say, like, I hate when I get peppered with message board rumors, because then sometimes you're like a cat chasing its tail. Like, it's almost negligent if you don't make a few calls to see, hey, is there any truth to this? But then it's like, who knows where that originated, and maybe no truth, and you're wasting time trying to follow something that's not real. So anyway. Damon Hinderberger. What's up? Good morning. Brandon DeVille, would the next coach retain Nolan Kane? He's a hell of a recruiter. That's one I'd be interested to see, Brandon, quite honestly. I would love to see Nolan stay on staff somewhere. Like, I don't think Nolan's not going to regress professionally. Like, he's not going to go be the pitching coach, at Louisiana College or something like that. So I don't know what Nolan will do. Hershey, my dog. Troy Aber, do you think we lose any star players due to Paul retiring? No, I don't. Honestly, Troy, it's probably the opposite. because let's just say that this season obviously hasn't gone the way anybody wanted it to go. And if a change wasn't made, you were probably going to see a very, very, very upsetting transfer. So, in that respect, I think it's the opposite. Now, you're going to have your normal purge of players, right? Some guys are going to go to the draft, and some guys they're just going to move on. Guys that don't play. I mean, you can look up and down a roster and know who the guys are that are going to be gone. The guys that are taking up a spot that don't play. So, how long did Drew and Hershey play yesterday? Oh, Drew, poor Hershey. Drew just stands over and just follows her around and just laughs. Lenny Moss, what's up, long distance hog? Ben McDonald's head coach. Nah. James Tyrone, Nashville Scone. Good morning. Uh-oh. Here we go. Here we go. Who is it, Drew? You want me to get her? Oh. Hang on, I'll be right back. Here, What's he daddy? What's he daddy? You want to say? Huh? No, who is it, Drew? Hershey's here. You want to say hi to Dad show? Huh? Do you want to say hi to Dad? He slept so good. Did he?
No, you're not. You did not sleep with him.
Yeah. I was in the guest room with Hershey. It's 8:30. I figured he slept so good.
No, he didn't.
Oh, how long was he up?
He was up 7 times.
Oh. Can you say hi to Dad show?
Oh, there's Hershey. Come here, Hersh. Yeah. Call him.
Hirsch. Hey, Hirsch.
Watch your treat. Did you hear that?
Is it that little stick?
A bone.
A bone?
A stick, yeah.
The stick, the red stick? Yeah, I gave her that
How long ago?
this morning.
She still has this.
Well, maybe she's been going back and forth to it.
What did you do there?
Hi, bud. I love you. Richard Bruce, LSU paying the women's basketball coach $2.5 million, a program that doesn't come close to breaking even profit-wise. I'm positive LSU pay a lot more than 1.3 to the next baseball coach. The number I've heard is in the 1.6 to 2 million range that they'd be willing to offer O'Sullivan. I don't mind telling you that. And bless you, remember, Richard, LSU isn't paying Kim Mulkey 2.5. If I'm not mistaken, if I remember offhand, her contract, LSU's paying, I think, $700 on that. And the rest is basically coming from boosters. So Scott Woodward just knew the right people to call to say, hey, would you be willing to supplement this salary? Scott's just, and he'll do the same for baseball. Whatever they need to do to get that done, they get it done. But you're right. I mean, women's basketball loses a ton of money, and baseball breaks even. Maybe makes a little profit. Carl Ritter, Blake Dean have any chance of getting the job? No. Tony Williams, Carl Ritter, would Florida really let Sullivan go to the right? It's not about letting. I mean, and remember, Jeremy Foley was the AD that hired Kevin O'Sullivan. Scott Strickland is there now, so he's coaching under a different athletic director, and there's a lot going on there. But yes, I think ultimately you've heard me say it's never done until it's done. I think terms they could agree on, all that sort of stuff. I think O'Sullivan would take the job if all those boxes are checked. There's some family considerations for him as well. And this isn't new, y'all. I mean, South Carolina pursued Kevin O'Sullivan when it hired Mark Kingston a couple of years ago. And they got far down the aisle. And it's never done until it's done. So there's a lot of moving parts. But I think ultimately it's going to come down to, does the LSU administration want to pull the trigger on a guy like O'Sullivan, who's got some, some off the field stuff. You see hers? You want to go see hers? You want to go see hers? Okay. Ooh, who is it, Drew? Stand up. Who is it, Drew? Go get her. Go get her. Dale, did you see the attendance at the UCLA softball game? I did not. Are you talking about the COVID stuff for football? I did not. By the way, I mean, NFL, Roger Goodell this week said they're expecting full capacity at all 32 NFL stadiums. If that's the case, then that means Los Angeles County and Orange County would all be open. So, Andrew Bienvenu, Carl Ritter are the powers that be looking for an established coach or an up-and-coming young coach. I think you'd have to clarify. Like, I'll give you an example. Had someone mention to me Casey Dunn. Casey Dunn played at Auburn, was a great player, and is the head coach at Samford, who has done a great job building that program. I don't know how you sell that to this fan base. I think the lowest rung of the ladder you go, and I don't mean for that to be, sound disrespectful. I'm just trying to struggle with another way to say it. Would be a Cliff Godwin. Godwin he built Central Florida, he built up East Carolina. He's perennially regional, super regional type coach. Godwin hasn't been to Omaha yet, has he? I don't think he's been to Omaha with East Carolina yet. But he's 43. He was on staff with Mainieri in the 09 team. Then he went to Central Florida. Oh, no, he wasn't the head coach at Central Florida. He was an assistant at Central Florida. Then he went to Ole Miss, and he's been in East Carolina since 2015. All right, so let's see. He's made, so in his time in East Carolina, 2 super regional appearances, 2 other regional appearances, won a couple of conference championships, a couple of conference tournament championships. So he's done well at East Carolina, but he hasn't been to Omaha yet. Shannon Russell, good morning. George, come on, the NFL will try to give him more. I don't know what that is. Adam Zander, Corbin, or is that chip sailed? Talked about Corbin a bit ago. Richard Bruce, besides Corbin and Canizero, Zander was completely off the table. I throw out a name. I mean, that's, if you're talking about all the fish in the sea, Let's see, jump back to YouTube here for a second. Brian Ashcraft, Brady Singer was a first-round pick. No, got him to campus, so he can handle pitchers for sure. Oh, Singer, Brian. That staff, Singer wasn't even the ace. Alex Faedo was the ace. It was Faedo, Singer, and Kowar. I mean, he had, what was that kid's name? Well, he had AJ Puck, who was a first-rounder. Dude, the arms that O'Sullivan has brought through Florida have been absurd. The kid, he was like the 8th overall pick. God, what was that kid's name? God dog it. Why can I never remember this kid's name? Florida had a kid. Why can I never remember this kid? I can picture him. Dude, He was a top 10 pick in the draft, passed on top 10 money to show up at Florida. Now, he had injuries his whole career, and he got drafted eventually, but not. Anyway, yes, my point is O'Sullivan, pitchers, that's a no-brainer. Is there anyone from the staff you would keep? I think Nolan would be the only one. Alan Dunn most certainly wouldn't be retained, and same with Eddie Smith. Eddie Smith was a one-year guy Mainieri brought in, and he wouldn't be the guy. It's unfortunate. I don't think Eddie had a fair shake at it this year. I don't know what he could have done, but I'm not saying he would have been great, but I don't think he had a fair shake. Let's see, Juan, Matt, could you give the people some perspective on how bad the program was when Smoke left? I remember us using center fielder as pitchers because we had no arms in 06 and Hoover. Smoke just stopped recruiting. The talent level had just dropped so dramatically to where, I've said this before, but this was a hand of Griff line, and I think it was all, he said it best. He gives the example of Blake Gill. If you remember Blake Gill who played at LSU, he said, I like Blake Gill as a first baseman batting seventh. I didn't like Blake Gill as a shortstop batting third. And that was the transformation in Blake Gill's career because the talent level in the program waned. Paul inherited a roster that was not very good. Missed postseason his first year in 07 and was in Omaha in year 2. He signed that great recruiting class, and he had a bunch of young talent that came through, and, with Renato and Jared Mitchell and DJ LeMahieu and all those guys, and they accelerated the return for that program for sure. Matt, are you going to LA? It is my plan, Juan, for sure. Trivia, is Shaq one of the boosters? I don't think so. There are really 2 LSU baseball, not just, let me not say 2. There are 2 primary LSU baseball boosters where pretty much anything you want within reason, these 2 guys make it happen. There's a lot more guys that were on the coaches committee and guys who have, that have the purple seats there behind home plate. You know what I mean? There's a lot more, but there are 2 primary LSU baseball boosters that when they go to them hat in hand and say, hey, we need this, they'll make it happen. Let's see. Chuck Sanchez liked Terrio's thank you segment. Thought it was spot on. Mainieri deserves praise for a stellar career. Sad to hear his almost apologetic tone in the press conference. No need for that. I realize the emotional part played a big role in his demeanor. Hope he gets a proper thank you during next season. I would hope so, Chuck, for sure. Well said. Michael Merritt, the Vandy tuition endowment situation was covered in Uneven. Oh, I need to go watch that. It's a wide range. Vandy can offer financial support. Household salaries over 200. Wow. So that's the short series that Matt Wyatt did. I need to go watch it. I haven't seen it yet. I need to. Jonathan Lambert, seems like the playing field should be more level. It's not. But, Jonathan, that's true in every sport. I mean, look at college football. I mean, LSU's part of the haves. You have the haves and the have-nots. LSU can walk dudes into locker rooms where you have first-class airplane pods in your locker. I mean, come on, bro. This is different. Brian and Andy Pinton, good morning from Big D. Got a way to get Skip back. Make a time machine, go back to 84, hire Skip, but Paul had a great run. Hate to see him go. I don't understand why so-called fans talk bad about him. They can kick rocks. He put out 20 major league players. At least he wasn't smoked. Yeah, man. Paul, hey, Krista Ducote, first time listening. Thank you, Krista. Appreciate that for watching. Yeah, if y'all are on Facebook, please like the page, share the post. I ask you to do that all the time. Like the page, share the post. And then, of course, on YouTube, if you're watching, if you haven't yet, please hit the like button. If you're on mobile, just X out of the chat, hit the thumbs up, and then hit live chat again, and then the chat will come right back. Carl Ritter, I give Mainieri credit for bringing us back, but the last few years were frustrating. Absolutely, man. And that's the point. It's the point I've been, you can't, and I understand as frustrating it is when you're living it, you got to at some point be able to scale back and see the forest, you can't see the forest for the trees. That's saying. I mean, you got to keep in mind what Mainieri has been throughout his time in Baton Rouge, and he's been in totality. It's been awesome. The last couple of years have not been fun, no doubt. And this, this was inevitable and needed to happen, and all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of reasons why it's it waned, and Paul talked about some of those. What I need to get Paul over to go see Crystal Poche at Restored Motions. Wonder if she could help his neck. That's a thought. Let's see. Zach Lee, so it's O'Sullivan, right? Rusty said it all. If LSU gets Kevin O'Sullivan, is that a good hire? Reagan Lee, how likely is it Sullivan? It's not Sullivan, it's O'Sullivan. Sounds like you know more info. No, I mean, I've given you the info I have. I mean, I've told you. I mean, they have walked far down that road already in an informal way. I've heard terms discussed. I've heard staff members discussed. I think Kevin O'Sullivan, if they could dot all the I's and cross all the T's, would take the job. I think it's really more going to be an issue of, is this something that the LSU administration is going to rubber stamp? And I don't know that answer yet. But I feel like at this point, if he's their guy and they want to pull the trigger, he'll say yes. I do believe that at this point. But the question is, the ultimate decision maker, will university president, board of supervisors say, okay. Which is why, whenever I say, if y'all were with us on Nightcap with Scone on Wednesday, shut the bleep up. That's how deals fall apart. Is people talking. Do y'all remember? So this is now a confirmed story. In 2012, after the 2012 college football season, the University of Texas was pursuing Nick Saban. Mack Brown, they were going to push out Mack Brown, and Texas was pursuing Nick Saban. And Saban was in. And this has now been confirmed by the owner of the Texas Rangers, who was the one who was pursuing Saban. Had the deal, had the 10-year contract, all this, that were done. But a lot of chatter started happening, and Mack Brown wasn't going to rubber stamp Nick Saban as his replacement. And he knew enough influential people at Texas that he basically stamped it out. That was going to happen. I mean, that's from the owner of the Texas Rangers, Rick's. Tom Hicks. Former Texas Regent Tom Hicks, the owner of the Texas Rangers and Dallas Stars. Saban was prepared to take the Texas job, as the Longhorns were reportedly prepared to offer the coach whatever salary demand he had to leave Tuscaloosa to replace Mack Brown. Quote, we had a call from his agent. He said if Saban was a business guy, he's what you would call a turnaround artist. He's not a long-term CEO. He likes to go someplace, fix it, win, and go on. He knows he will never catch Bear Bryant's legacy in Alabama, but he'd like to create his legacy that he won more championships at more schools than anybody else. He's already done it at LSU. He's done it at Alabama. He knows he can win a championship at Texas. He knows he can. I went to see Mack Brown 2 days later. So this is the owner of the Rangers. Went to talk to Brown, gauge his interest in stepping down, being replaced by Saban. Quote, I went to see Mack 2 days later. We had lunch. I thought at the time Mack was ready to leave. He'd been telling people he was ready to leave. So I said, Mack, I want to tell you about a conversation I had with Jimmy Sexton. If you want to retire, I think you can graciously have Nick Saban come in, take your place, have it kind of be your idea. That might be a nice way for you to end it. Boy, Mack Brown turned bright red. Steam started coming out of his ears. He said, that guy is not coming here to win a national championship with my players. I said, Mack, it's good to see you still have passion. I don't think you had passion left. So that's what started the Nick Saban story. How about that? Saban was in. Saban was in. And Mac Brown basically stamped it out. So point is, like, you never know really what it takes to get something across the finish line. So until it is. Carl Ritter, if they go with a young and up and coming coach, who do you think they will look at? Yeah, I mean, I've thrown out names, man. I don't. I'll put it to you this way, Carl. Whoever they have above Cliff Godwin, it doesn't get past Cliff Godwin. Does that make sense? Like, if let's say hypothetically it's O'Sullivan and Vitello and it's not Jim Schlossnagle, but whatever. If Cliff Godwin is 4th or 5th or 6th on their list, whatever, it's not getting past that. Like, he's not going to tell them no and then have them go to, people mention Blake Dean or something like that. Like, it's not getting to that point. Reagan, when you say off-field stuff, you're talking medical or personal issues? Some personal stuff. And I know a lot of people have referenced the Gainesville Sun article from earlier in May, which is tragic and awful. But I'll tell you, that's not. There are people who are making assumptions. That's the hang-up. That's not the hang-up. Well, I don't want to be part of a rumor mill. You can do your own research on that, but just suffice to say that if anyone's told you that singularly is not the hang-up. Troy, I know the decision is not yours, but who would you hire? I would hire Kevin O'Sullivan. He knows the SEC. He is a relentless recruiter. Like, he personally is at every showcase. He personally is at high school fields, and like, he personally is the one out there recruiting. He's got a ton of fire. He's already won a national title. He is an elite pitching guy. He wants a place with some juice. That's easy for me. But I look at it, Troy, like, what can I get that's the closest thing to a sure thing? Is there, like, could you go for Vitello, who's 10 years younger and could potentially be here 10 years longer? Yes, but when there's a guy that's already won a national championship, who knows that blueprint, who's done it, and you could poke Florida in the eye? I mean, you simultaneously improve your program and weaken one of your rivals. That's kind of easy choice to me. Chase DeLatt, Matt, any thoughts on the Alyssa Williams commit that Mulkey signed away from TCU? Candidly, Chase, I don't know. Whatever Kim Mulkey's doing, I'm not going to be surprised, and I think she will be in the tournament this year, and next year, year 2 for her, I think she'll have just the way women's college basketball is built, she'll have the opportunity to make a deep run. Earl Lytle, best wishes to Paul Mainieri and his wonderful family. Thank you, Paul. Always a great job, Matt. Thank you, Earl. Let's see, Carl, we need to recruit some catchers. This is a position of need. LSU's got a great catcher, that's... So I had one scout tell me about Alex Milazzo. Said if he can find a way to hit 200, he will play for 15 years in Major League Baseball as a bullpen catcher. A guy that's optioned. He's basically your bullpen catcher and your AAA guy who options back and forth whenever the big club needs one. And he said those guys make $750K. He's like, he's that good defensively. This guy spent 30 years as an MLB scout. Like, they have an elite defensive catcher. They just need him to hit 200. Brian, tell me where you can find cheap tickets. StubHub has them at $500. Brian, you got to keep in mind, man. I know you're asking about the UCLA game. You got to be patient because capacity hasn't been announced yet. Those are brokers on that site selling tickets that they don't have in hand yet. That's how brokers do it. And then brokers gobble up tickets. They sell you for over face, and then they try to gobble up tickets, whatever they can, to fill those requests. So just be patient, man. Trust me when I tell you, if that stadium is at capacity in September and there's 90,000 people allowed in, every LSU fan that wants to go to that game will be able to go to that game for a reasonable price. You just got to be patient. Trust me on that. Okay. Patrick Kason, morning, Matt. I was really impressed with Ryan's letter yesterday. He did a good job, man. For those that missed, I posted it here on Facebook and on my Instagram as well. If you don't follow me on Instagram, please do that. It's just at Matt Scone. Carl, who's number 2 on the list. Remember, Carl. It's not so much if O'Sullivan doesn't come. It's going to be an issue, I think, if LSU is going to rubber stamp that. Yeah, Carl, I'm not willing to say right now that it's an either-or thing. And I've mentioned a lot of names already. Kenny Kimball, have a great weekend. Thank you, man. Carl Ritter, 2000 College World Series. Love that team. Skip's last championship. He coached in 01, but yeah. I had that conversation with Terrio, because as a kid, my assumption was always, man, like, that the 97 team was the best team Skip had because they were kind of the most dominant because the gorilla ball is what we think of. But really, that 2000 team, 2000 and 09 are the two best, most talented LSU baseball teams that LSU's had. Championship teams. When you look at 2000, Terrio, big leaguer. Fontenot, big leaguer. Haup, big leaguer. Trey Hodges, big leaguer. Brian Talent, big leaguer. Shane Newman, big leaguer. Brian Wilson, big leaguer. Wait, was Wilson there too? I don't think Wilson was there in 2000. And then you had veteran guys like Barbier, Cressy, Cedric Harris, I think, made it to AAA. That 2000 team was loaded. And then 09, Austin Nola, big leaguer. DJ LeMahieu, big leaguer. Jared Mitchell was a AAA All-Star on his way to being a big leaguer before he got injured. Mikey Mato, big leaguer, first-round draft pick. Micah Gibbs made it to AAA. Coleman, big leaguer. Renato, big leaguer. Matty Ott didn't have a great professional career, but set the LSU record for saves in the season. Yeah. Leon Landry, that team was 2009 were talent-wise, when you think back on it, it's true. I could run through. You run through 91. Gary Emel, Johnny Telechia, Andy Sheets, Tookie Johnson, Chris Mook, Rich Cordani, Lyle Mouton. Was Lyle Mouton? Armando Rios. Armando Rios played in the big leagues. I think Armando Rios, if I'm not mistaken, I think Mouton and Rios were the only two from that team. Well, Rick Green, Chad O.J., Paul Bird, the pitchers, obviously, yes. But position players, yeah. So Rios played with the Giants, with Pittsburgh, and then 1 year with the White Sox. Played 6 big league seasons. But Rios and he got popped for steroids, didn't he? But I think Rios and Mouton were the only two starting position players on that team that played in the bigs. And now you had OJ and Bird and Rick Green, and you had some dudes. Oh, yeah, that's right. He was in the Balco case. That's right. Rios. Do I remember Jared Mitchell? Mitchell was the 3rd overall pick. Mitchell was not the 3rd overall pick. He was a first round. I think Mitchell was 27th. Let's see. Jared Mitchell. Jared Mitchell was picked. He's 32 now. You want to talk about feeling old? Mitchell was picked 23rd. I said 27th. He was 23rd overall. All right, let's see what else we got here, y'all. Whoops. YouTube. As always, y'all, shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and of course, Hudco Roofing. Would love the opportunity to come give you a free, no obligation roof inspection. Just give us a shout at Hudco, HudcoRoofing.com, HudcoRoofing.com. Hunter Picard, what's up, man? In your opinion, who stays and who goes on the baseball team? I think it's, look, man, I mean, you can look up and down the roster at the guys who didn't play, didn't contribute, and there's probably spots that are going to be given up. Look at trivia. I'm part of the Nick Saban story. I hooked up the AT&T service at the house they purchased and met his wife in Austin, Texas. How about that, trivia? Look at that. If I'd known you then, you could have given me some scoop. Cortland, still not convinced California will allow out-of-state fans, maybe even require you to show proof of vaccination to attend. We'll see. Still got 3 months to go. My choice is Kim Mulkey to replace Paul Mainieri. I think she'd be a stud. She knows playing about baseball. Woodward's going to have to make a home run, grand slam high, replace Paul. Yeah, Chad Jones. For sure, but Chad was also kind of a part-time baseball guy. Like, his path was going to be in football, right? I mean, he was third-round pick of the Giants. That was going to be his path, not baseball. Yet, Wally on 2002 also. I don't know. It would have been interesting to see if Wally would have had a chance at a big league career. For sure. Yeah. Freshman that year, too. Brian Ashcraft, only question I have is 80% of his players come from Florida, as they should, but how good is he outside the state? So, Brian, you're missing the point. The reason is because the single biggest showcase annually is right there in North Florida and Southern Georgia. Literally, you could go recruit that event and see all the best players in the country. He has, O'Sullivan, he has more elite prospects within a 200-mile radius of his campus than Louisiana has in the whole state. Fact. He don't need to. It's like LSU in football. I mean, you can go out of state and pluck some guys here and there, no doubt. But when you can recruit Louisiana, and there's Keishon Booty, and I mean, Jaquaylin Rum. You go to U High or Catholic High, you got all these guys. I mean, Shelton Sampson's a 5-star receiver, 5 minutes from LSU's campus. You know what I mean? Like, it's similar in that respect. Florida produces more elite baseball prospects within a 200-mile radius of that campus. It's why Miami and Florida State and Central Florida and South Florida and all of them have always been stacked with talent. There is just an abundance of talent in that state. So, and yes, that's the point. Like, he would still go recruit. I mean, Dylan Cruz came from Florida. You know, the thing is, Dylan Cruz grew up an LSU fan. You know, his dad had ties to the program with Skip, and so yeah. I mean, he'd be able to get guys here. I don't doubt that at all. We played against Jared Mitchell in high school when I was a freshman. I realized I would never play college baseball. It's funny when you have those moments, huh? There you go. Richard Bruce, Disneyland in Anaheim is allowing out-of-state guests starting June 15th. Yeah, man. That's awesome. Opening up. I'm excited about it. Okay, y'all. I think we're just about done. How much access do former players have to the baseball facilities? Yeah, Merrick, I mean, I know a lot of the guys. Remember, a lot of the guys that played for the guys in the show now are guys that played for Paul. So a lot of them come back and train in the off season. You know, they can all hit the cages and all that sort of stuff. It's good to have those guys around the program. You know, I would like to see. You know, one thing that has happened, and fault, blame, nature, human nature, whatever you want to say, is that there has been sort of a disassociation with the Skip era guys presently. And that's something that I would really like to see whoever is next fix. to kind of bridge that gap. I understand totally why Paul would be more loyal to his guys, the guys he coached who came through. And it's his program. He's been here 15 years, man. You know, just put 20 whatever guys in Major League Baseball. His resume is what it is too. So, but I would like to see that gap bridged. To bring in a lot of the guys who helped build the program initially under Skip and get them more involved. Guys who are still around town, man. Doug Thompson, of course, is on the radio broadcast, but guys like Patrick Coogan, who's an all-time great, man. Blair Barbier. These guys who are still around town, who love the program and would ache to be involved however they can. I would love to see whoever the new guy is to reach out and sort of include those guys too. So, I think we're just about done, man. Appreciate everything. Appreciate all the comments. All the hour and 12 minutes here on Morning Scone. As always, a shout out to Brock. Brock is tagged in the Facebook post, so if you could like the Brock page, that would be great. More importantly, After Hours Clinic is open today, so if you find yourself in need of an orthopedist, hopefully you don't. Go to Brock. Matt Lusto, Paul's letter to Sully, post-natty makes for neat symmetry. Kind of does. So for those who don't know what he's talking about, when LSU beat Texas to win the national championship in 2009, Augie Garrido sent Paul Mainieri a handwritten congratulations letter. And Paul has it framed in his office. When Florida beat LSU in 2017, Paul did the same thing. He sent a handwritten letter to Kevin O'Sullivan congratulating him on the national championship. So that's what Matt's alluded to. It is pretty cool symmetry. It would be cool if it worked out. So, okay, y'all, I'm gonna bounce. Y'all have an awesome Saturday. A safe Memorial Day weekend for anybody who's traveling. Y'all be good. We'll see you tomorrow for Morning Scone. And of course, Hudco Roofing. I would love. How about this? If you own a home and you're in Louisiana, if right now you would go to HUDCOroofing.com, if you've not had your roof inspected, or if your roof is or if you've had hail, wind, and if your roof is more than a decade old, let us come do an inspection. It's free. You don't have to be home. Our guys will come out, get up on the roof, just look, file a full report. HUDCOroofing.com. If just one of you did that right now, I would feel like this was a massively successful show. HUDCOroofing.com. Okay, y'all have an awesome day. Peace.